learn stuff. Yeah.
All right, so now it's time to actually put some content into your pages. So let's go to our Pages tab here, and there are our 4 pages. And we are going to quickly go to the Welcome page, which is our home page. Now you can click on the 3 dots and choose Edit, but clicking on the name does the exact same thing. And here you can see, this is just a little autosave, I'll get rid of that. Here you can see the basic content of your page and the titles up top. You could change it here if you wanted to. And there's nothing on the page except a blank, empty block waiting for you to put text in. Now, when I say block, what it refers to is a few years back, WordPress reworked how they um, allow you to manage content and move to a block system. This is just the way of the world and the evolution of how the web works because you need fluid, multi-device, responsive web pages. And if you're not doing that now, then you're really behind the times because people are looking at your website on a desktop PC, a tablet, a cell phone, almost any kind of device out there. Um, can see your site when it's built with this block approach and um, the WordPress base sort of setup. Hate to use the word code, but the base code setup of how WordPress works, this block system, will reflow the blocks so that they respond to the type of device that is viewing the website. So it's pretty cool. It means everything you do exists in a block. And to make it easier and sort of a friendly user build for a non-code person, you really just need to use a variety of different types of blocks to make almost any kind of layout or website you want. So let's add some blocks. And we're going to keep it really simple, and you can grow out on your own and learn more as we go. First is a simple text block. So this is welcome. So we go, um, what can I say? I'm making this up. This site exists to um, share everything about my dog Pepper. What a good girl. Just making it up. You could be making an official website about your business, or you could be making your own personal online portfolio or whatever you're doing. Now, that's a block of text. And the general approach in the web is that you don't have never-ending, non-stop flows of text. You want to put it into bite-sized, digestible chunks. That's very much that sort of web approach to how text is laid out and structured, so that there's like little digestible chunks in that electronic world. And that's one block. You can see that if I click off of it, it exists on its own. When I hover over it and click into it, you'll get a context menu that pops up for that block. And we'll quickly look at what this block has available. There's paragraph options, and there's a bunch of ways you can change the type of block that it is. Is it a heading? Is it a list? Is it a pull quote? These are types of blocks. We're just changing it. This is alignment, align left, align right, align center. Everything you align center looks like a little poem. So you don't want a poem. You want a regular old text. Nothing wrong with centering something, especially if it's a heading, but that's a creative choice. You can bold stuff. You can, italicize it. You can make something a link. So if you want a particular word to be a link to something else, you can put a link to another page or some other piece of media or even another site on the web somewhere. On here, there's a bunch of other additional options like inline code, keyboard input, strike-throughs, superscript and subscript, the usual stuff. Text color, if you want to change it, you can underline, just additional options for text formatting. And under the ellipse, we've got basic things: copy, duplicate, insert before, edit as text, blah, blah, blah. Add this to your blocks you use frequently, and delete the block. So if you want to get rid of this block, the most important thing to know is to remove the block. Now we're not going to remove it. We're going to add more blocks. So this is a block at the top, and you could write as much or as little as you wanted in here, and it could go on for a while. But don't have too much. It's time to put a new block in. Okay, so that's one block. Let's add another block. What do we do to add another block? Well, we simply can use this add block. And when you click the toggle block inserter, you'll get an endless, almost overwhelming collection of blocks. And you'll also see a whole tab called patterns. Okay, just give this a second to load up here. It's being a little sluggish. A little sluggish. Um, let's see. What is patterns? Well, the neat thing, patterns is, you'll notice, very similar to um, that first thing we saw when we had an option to create a new page, and you clicked on new page and you chose, and there was options to choose sort of a page pattern or a page template. That's sort of available here as well. Okay, so you can choose um, this, which is really just applying a layout or a pattern to your page, a bunch of blocks pre-done, and it is very much exactly the same thing that was offered to you when you said create a new page. It said, do you want to use one of these patterns or one of these sort of page templates? And you can still ask to access them and apply them after the fact. So we chose a blank page. You can still add a pattern. But what if you just wanted to make it yourself? You can add the pattern, you can go in and you can edit the content, okay? But let's go back to blocks. I'm going to undo that if I can. Let's see, let's do the undo button. Gotta love the undo button. Don't forget, there actually is an undo and a redo button, so pretty crazy. You'll notice that the only challenge with choosing a pattern is that it got rid of the text they already created and kind of took over the page, and you've got to go in and change it and make it your own, which you can do, but you end up having to redo a bunch of work, right? So you're doing a bunch of work after the fact that I've already done, right? You can change it, but that's kind of messing up what I already did. So let's undo that. Don't hesitate to use the undo button to save your butt when you're trying to get it working. Do we really need to use patterns? You can always use them. They're at your disposal. You don't have to. With the blocks and some smarts, you can make your own pattern. All right. So let's do a few things. Let's have a look at this block. Let's toggle the new block, and we're going to add an additional text block. So let's add another paragraph. Notice it's called paragraph because it wants you to group text into paragraphs as separate blocks. So oops, my mistake, a little boo-boo there. Just undo that. There it is. This is the next section where um, I talk about my dog some more. Okay, and that is like another paragraph. I'll just put a bit more junk in here so you can see the shape. So you can see these are paragraph chunks that are um, separated by a spacer because they are blocks. And you can, of course, move these blocks up and down, change their order. You can use this as sort of a grab, drag button and move it somewhere else if you want to. So you can grab blocks and move them elsewhere, which is pretty cool. And all the usual things we've already talked about. Next, let's add another block. Let's add, what do we got here? We've got paragraphs. You can have a heading, you can have a list, quotes, codes, all the things you're used to in regular sort of desktop publishing are available here to a certain extent. Pull quotes with lines above, kind of nice. You can have a table with data in it. Um, and moving into media, you can put images, you can put files that can be clicked on and accessed. You can do media and text, which is pretty simple, just media to the left and text to the right. You can put videos, all kinds of stuff, tiled galleries. You can see there's a lot of nice building blocks available to you here. Now, what's design? Under design, you've got buttons. If you want to have a button that's clickable, you can have columns, and you can also have a layout grid, which works pretty cool. So collecting up these different blocks and putting them into your page, you can kind of build something yourself that's very similar to choosing from the patterns. But if you want to use the pattern, go ahead. But choose the pattern first and then put your content in. Don't start typing content and change your mind because choosing the pattern will remove the content and you'll have to start putting content into the structure that's created for you by a pattern. Okay, so let's do one little thing here just so that we can see the full extent of this to understand it. So now I'm going to go to finish up talking about blocks here. I'm going to choose, scrolling down to design, I'm going to choose 2 or 3 columns. And you can see, it says, well, what do you want to do? A 2-column or a 3-column? That's 3-column or a 30-70 or whatever. I'm going to do a 50-50. Choose it. I click on it twice. It's just a little weird. And now it puts 2 blocks next to each other. So it gives you that left-right column approach. And then in here, I can put Let's see, browse all. Here I can put a photo. So let's put an image in here. So an image. The option is to upload it or select it. If I've already uploaded it, let's upload an image. And in the desktop, I've got a picture of a golden retriever here. Upload that. Boom. You want to put a caption down below, you could. But because we chose this column approach, we can now go next to that on the right and add a block here with paragraph, which just is what they mean by text. So you could do two photos next to each other, or you could have paragraph on the side, and we can continue the story. More stuff about dogs and how I can help with my dog daycare services. Blah, 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 blah. So you can see you can create a structure with these blocks. It's pretty neat, right? Okay, so let's have a look at a few more things that are available to you in this sort of content area. So we're still in the welcome page. What else do I have? Well, each block, remember, has a context menu related to each block. You can delete the block. You can rearrange and move the blocks around. And of course, you can add more blocks, and there's many different types of blocks. You just choose what you want to do, pop it in, and move it. So when you get used to it, it's pretty intuitive. It's kind of cool. I want to pull quote, no problem. There's a block for that. I want a list, no problem. There's a block for that. I want a heading or a subheading, no problem. There's a block for that. Okay, so there's endless types of blocks, and almost everything you can think about is in there. Okay, you want to put a YouTube video in there? You got a YouTube video block, no problem. But what about more formatting? If you want to format, say, certain aspects of this page, there is a whole other section here of settings. Okay, so let's have a look at settings. There's also a little tab here which has options as well. So if you're looking for a setting, have a look in here. If I click on this settings tab, check it out. You get different options depending on what you click on. So if I click on the welcome up top, I get basic stuff related to the page. Okay. If there's a feature image you want, there's some basic stuff here, page attributes. You could change a few things about the page if you want. But where it gets really neat is when I click on one of the blocks. So in this block, I get a couple options. I can change the font size for a particular block. So if you wanted a block with just one line of text and you wanted it slightly different, you could make it bigger or smaller. Okay. Line height, you could choose line height if you wanted to, and make some adjustments to that if there was a line related in there. Color, you could change the color of the text in this block if you wanted to. Oh wait, I think this might, well, actually it gives more than just that. There's a text color, which is kind of interesting. I'm going to go really light with it to make a point. Or let's go really dark for a second so you can see what I'm talking about. It's not easy to see, but then the background color could be lighter. Ho ho! It's kind of messy, and you may not like it from a design perspective, but the options are there. Okay, so I'm going to clear the background color, and I'm going to go back to white text on a dark background, which is just fine, but the options are here, and that's each block specific. Okay, so that's an option. If I click on the photo, guess what? I get options over here related to the photo. So most of these options might be related in the context menu, but there could be other options available in the side settings bar, which are not available there. So between the context menu that pops up when you click on a particular block and the side panel of settings, you'll find almost everything you need, at least in the free version. You know, there could be limitations, but almost everything you need is here. Notice that the text has pretty text basics for options in the context menu, and with the photo you get things like you can crop it, you can link to something else. What else we got here? Change the block style or whatever. You can crop it. You can add text over the image. You could do filters. You can replace it with another filter, and you can delete the block. So options are a little different depending on what each block is. Okay, so we've got some neat stuff happening here and a pretty basic crash course in how to get some content onto your pages. Okay, so don't forget to say update. It's very important to always look for this update or save option, or what you're doing might not stick and you could lose some work and have to redo it. Okay, so let's go back to our pages. That's welcome. Then we're going to flip over to our other tab and we're going to refresh, boom, to see our work. Cool, right? And if we switch to the logo page, we got nothing. So let's quickly add that so we are finishing up with this. So in our pages, we're going to go to logo and we're going to put a block that starts this time with a photo instead. No, I don't need to worry about that. Let's add a photo block, okay, or an image block, and we're going to click, and we're going to upload an image, and I'm going to choose, let's see, this ping image here. Boom, pretty cool. It's like a little logo. I'm just pretending this is the logo for my business. There's not much of a logo. It's just an image I downloaded, for example. And I don't need a caption. And then I'm going to add another block below. So I clicked outside of that. Now I'm going to add a block below. It defaulted to a text block, which is already there. But if it wasn't there, just add a block. And in here, I'm going to paste in some text that's just the basics, some basic generic filler text about what is a logo. So I'm going to put in this. There we go. Then I'll add another block below. I'm going to click outside of it. Let's see here. I'm going to add another block, choose another paragraph, and put the next section in its own block. I'm just copying text from a Word document, bringing it in, and pressing copy paste. There you go. So there's 2 blocks of text. What if I wanted to put a little subheading in or a heading? Let's have a look at that. Let's block and let's do heading. There we go. Now I'm going to change the heading to what is a logo? Copy. What is a logo? Cool. Now I want this up top. So how do I move this? A couple options. I can move it with the arrows, or I can drag it and put it there. And you see the little blue line offering the option for where I'm going to drop it. Nope, didn't work. Click, drag up, boom. Ah, so there we go. I got a logo, and I've got and I've got a heading, and I've got 2 blocks for 2 different paragraphs. So each paragraph in this setup is a block. So a little different than working in, say, InDesign or Microsoft Word. Each paragraph is done as a separate block to give you this nice chunky separation, which is so web-centric. Okay, let's see here. What can I do? Cropping and well, let's crop it. Let's see what happens. Well, it's not bad. Like it is. It's kind of cool. Cancel. Kind of neat. There's your options. Alignment, I'm going to go center because I don't like the fact that it was to the left. That's something to watch out for. If a photo goes to the left, it can look not as crisp or nice. And I'm going to go with center in this case so it sits nicely in the page. Sound good? Now, obviously, it might seem simple, but how do you make it smaller or bigger? Well, these little kooky little circles and these little lines are kind of how you do it. And if you hover over these and shrink it down, you can make it a little smaller. So there you go. Pretty basic. A logo, a image, a heading, 2 separate blocks. Pretty cool. Notice that something I didn't mention is that in this case I have a subheading and I don't really need it, but if you wanted to do a drop cap, which is a very cool component from uh, desktop publishing tradition, then you can do drop caps, which is pretty cool. And I'm not going to do that here. I'm going to save this page. I'm just going to quickly go back to my other page, welcome. And in the welcome page, there goes perfect opportunity to use a drop cap. So I'm going to put the cursor in the first block. And I am in the settings tab in case you've lost it here. The settings sidebar, I should say, not a tab, settings sidebar. And I'm not on the page options. I'm on options specific to the block. And the option is to have a drop cap. Boom, I got a drop cap. Pretty neat, right? Not much of option wise here to do like things like changing how many lines it is or whatever, but it's there and it's a free version, so sometimes there's limitations. Can you change the color? Yeah, you can change color option. Let's see what this color option is for. Yeah, same thing. That's just the block color. Again, it's not related to the drop cap, but you can change the color of everything. Um, do not do this unless it's absolutely necessary. It looks cool. That's kind of neat, for example. I like that. But these blocks are either used for a design component or to make it more readable, depending on what color text you want on top of what background. These blocks can help if you have a um, image or a photographic or textural background and need a little bit of readability with the text. You could put backgrounds on some of these blocks to make them more readable. and to just be more aesthetic with your layout. So clear the background unless you need it. Don't do it unless you need it, but be creative with it if you wish. All right, so that's kind of the block approach. Yeah, let's move on from there.
Learn stuff. Yeah.